So we invited Allison Feaster as our guest speaker today, just to share some insights on leading with empathy and the importance of teamwork.
Thanks, everyone. I'm super excited about this opportunity today because for me, it marks a very important moment in the season for us, but also in the season for you all at Madison. It's what we like to call a season launch. In my eyes, this launch is the first step to building a deeper, stronger connection with each other, a deeper understanding of those with whom you have an unwritten contract to do something great, to rally around our coach's message, believe in the system, and go and pull off what was seemingly impossible. There's only been 2 other 16-over-1 upsets in the NCAA tournament to date, and we're still the only 16 seed on the women's side to do so. Fast forward to this century and to color. I am a basketball executive today. This is my 4th season in the front office of one of the most storied sports franchises ever. And I ask myself every day just how I got here. The truth is I'm one of a handful of women in NBA front offices, and even fewer women of color in NBA front offices. So I'm super thankful for my role and for my platform. Don't know, I played 17 plus years professionally, 10 in the W. I played 17 abroad in Europe, and from the islands of Portugal to the easternmost fronts of Russia. So I've seen a lot in my professional life. But despite all of those experiences, what I value the most is using sports to uplift, empower, and connect. And it's for that reason that I valued most my work with the NBA, just growing the game at the grassroots level, serving as an advocate, for girls and women's empowerment everywhere. My boyfriend likes to joke with me that I'm constantly on my soapbox, and I'll retort that I would not need a soapbox if there was equality on everyone's mind, dear. A team's ability to connect on a deeper level must be at the core of this equation. If you connect and tightly weave a collective fabric around your values so that you can weather the undulations of adversity, I believe there isn't anything a team can't accomplish together.
I know we talk about winning a lot, and the goal is always to win. But in the hopefully rare events when, let's say, it's the last 2 minutes of the last quarter and you're down by 15 points and it's not looking good, how do you approach those final moments, and what's your immediate post-game strategy?
That's a very common occurrence in the game of basketball. You always want to leave the game on the best note possible. You throwing in the towel is not acceptable. How you lose is as important as how you win. So I think doing it with the same dignity, grace, effort, all the things that you'd want to kind of be front and foremost in your performance in a win versus a loss. I think you have to know how to lose gracefully. I think the follow-up is doing a postmortem. And you do postmortem when you win as well. You have to analyze, the things you did well, and always look for areas of opportunity and growth. So I think that's what a post game would look like. You'd look at what are the things that went wrong.
A lot of us are big basketball fans, and I think it's pretty clear one player can have more of an impact in basketball than probably any other one, but you still have to balance that with the sport. And one of the things we're trying to work on here is decision making and knowing, when to use data, when to use intuition. Obviously, with sports, the data craze has gotten out of control. So curious how you guys internally, balance that, try to strip away your biases, but also, you're an expert. You've played it 17 years professionally. How do you balance the pattern matching and expertise versus just looking at the data?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that is you're right, it's a constant struggle. But I think that's the beauty of having a diverse team. I think if, any team that's completely data-driven is going to have a lot of blind spots. You're going to miss the feel of it. And in contrast to any team that's heavily experiential, you're going to miss opportunities to maximize situations that would potentially give you a competitive advantage. So I think the key to that is really having a diverse team from as many perspectives as you can, and that's cliche, but it's a fact. I've been in, even before I joined the Celtics front office, as I was interviewing for roles at other teams, I would sit in and see how they would have pre-draft conversations where they'd have the scouts who were out observing players and giving the visual feedback, the feel feedback, and then you take the numbers of, that show the black and white of things and figure out how those two different perspectives would mesh. I think the key is just having a diverse perspective group, in any decision making you're making, any decisions that you're making. Great question though. We go back and forth, and you watch the game today, it's a struggle between how many 3-pointers is too much. Do you sign a player who is heavily dominant with the ball? There's just so many factors that go into kind of maximizing the way you play, for example.
Yeah, and a bit of public criticism too, I would think.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm curious in your experience, obviously in basketball between, free agencies and trades and new draft picks, injuries, there can be a lot of turnover, change, disruption in a roster and in an organization. Maybe not for Madison particularly, but in the renewable energy industry, we're seeing a lot of people shifting companies, starting their own shops, and seeing a lot of turnover at companies. I'm curious how you think about keeping that kind of cohesive spirit and mission, even when the folks that you're working with on a day in, day out basis may be changing pretty rapidly.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. And it's something in the sports world, as you mentioned, it's super common, lots of turnover every year. Player, I don't know how many players will have different, but we've already, as you've seen, publicly, we have, some major trades in the works. We've had at least 4 coaches go on to different positions. We're super deliberate about how we approach our organizational standards and values, and just launching them in the proper way ahead of every season, and recommunicating them in operationalized moments throughout the season. And so not only that, we want to make sure that we have the right people in the building first and foremost. And we also want to make sure that we model the proper behavior throughout the season. It's not easy. It's constant work. It's constant deliberate action to make sure that we're all moving in the same direction. When I reference this North Star, you begin with that, and then you do very deliberate steps throughout the year to make sure that we're all marching in the same direction. You have to accept that as much as winning is fun, failure and iteration is as much a part of the process as the final result. I can't tell you the number of times that I've failed, and I'm pretty sure everybody can go around the room and have their own laundry list of ways and reasons why you failed at something or why you needed to rework something. But that's the beauty of stepping up and joining a team and playing the game. You embrace that aspect of it. And it's not for the faint of heart. But I imagine that's why you're in that building, and that's why you're with that group, and that's why you were hired, because there's something in you and in this group that makes it different.